out tonight. I have a quick quote that I wanted to share with you all from Lyndon B. Johnson. This right to vote is the basic right, without which all others are meaningless. It gives people as individuals, control over their own destinies. We're extremely fortunate in this town to practice town meeting and have the opportunity for all our voices to be heard. So I hope everyone takes that opportunity tonight to do so. I'm going to invite Board of Selectmen Chairman Peter Karen to the microphone for a presentation.
Good evening. My name is Peter Karen, and I am one of the selectmen here in town. And we have a special guest with us this evening. For as long as I have been alive, and probably most of you, David Gay has been our attorney for the town of Dayton. And tonight, he is retiring from our town, and he will be sorely missed. So we have a certificate of appreciation for you, Mr. Gay. This reads, from the Town of Dayton Board of Selectmen, 979 Somerset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. 02715. Certificate of Appreciation. We, the undersigned, do hereby recognize David T. Gay, Esquire, for almost 50 years of dedicated service to the Town of Dayton and its residents as our Town Council. Your efforts have significantly had an impact on many Dayton projects and initiatives, the successful results of which you continue to have lasting benefits to our community for years to come. On behalf of our small town with a big heart, we extend our sincere gratitude, and it is signed by the Board of Selectmen. Thank you, Mr. Gay.
Everyone. Just one other housekeeping item. Any items of discussion we will be limiting to 5 minutes. If you do have discussion for any of the articles, please come up to the microphone if you're able to do so. If you are not or wish to be heard, please raise your hand and someone will bring the portable mic to you. have a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Hear the reports of town officials.
Mr. Moderator, I move to dispense with the reading of the articles and that reference be made to them by number and content.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we consider adjournment at 11 p.m.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we hear the reports of the town officials.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. So we'll hear the reports of town officials.
Once again, good evening. I won't be long. It is kind of warm in here this evening, especially up here under the lights. But I stand here before you with great pride and humility as we gather for our annual town meeting. This occasion provides us with a unique opportunity to come together as a community to reflect on our achievements and to envision a brighter future for our town. I'd like to recognize two of my colleagues here on stage, Selectman Nicole Mello and our newest Selectman Mark Pacheco. It's both a privilege and an honor to serve with you guys. Thank you. Over the past year, we have witnessed progress and growth in our community. Our police and fire departments work tirelessly to keep our streets and residents safe. There is no one better than Tom Ferry and his crew at keeping the infrastructure strong. The public servants at Town Hall, whose professionalism is second to none. The volunteers who serve in our communities and boards are truly the definition of selflessness. We can't forget our schools, where the teachers and administrations treat every student as an investment in our community's future. In the spring of 2023, Dayton was in the national spotlight as a town resident was the focus of an international incident. Along with federal and state law enforcement, Dayton Police and Fire Departments responded to the scene. Both departments were later recognized for their professionalism by the FBI. In the summer of 2023, Dayton again was in the news, which resulted in the appointment of an acting police chief. Administrator Sergeant Nicholas was appointed new police chief in March of 2024. We are fortunate to have such a capable leader who has proven to be a dedicated public servant, ensuring the safety and well-being of our town. This year, we lost an icon of our school committee, Janice Terry. Janice, again, was 30-some-odd years, 40-some-odd years on the school committee, and she's sorely missed. We had several noticeable retirements. Assistant Town Clerk Pamela Tangent, Conservation Committee members Bill Furnett and Charles Bello. Between the three of them, they served our town for over 25 years. And I'd like to recognize Leonard Hull, who worked tirelessly as a selectman for 3 years. As we move forward, it is essential to address the financial needs of our community. I understand that some of you may be concerned about the financial implications of tonight's warrant. We must strike a balance between providing the necessary funding and the financial burden on our residents. I want to let you know, your selectmen, your financial team, and town administrator consider it our responsibility to explore all possible avenues for funding, including seeking grants, partnerships, and community support. As we look ahead, it is essential that we consider the challenges and opportunities that lie before us. Our town has seen significant growth over the years, and with that growth comes the need for careful planning and thoughtful decision-making. We must strike a balance between preserving our surroundings and accommodating the needs for our population growth. I invite each of you to actively participate in the decisions-making process of our town. Attend your community meetings, voice your concerns, and contribute to your ideas. Let us remember that our town is not just a collection of streets and buildings, but a community of individuals who share a common purpose. Let us strive to build bridges, not walls, and foster a sense of unity and belonging. Thank you.
exemptions and abatements that have been submitted to date. Later this evening, you will be asked to support an article that we hope will help more elderly residents qualify for tax reductions if the age is lowered to 65. The board recognizes the difficult times that some residents are having with the cost of living, taxes, and necessities of life. Bill Moore, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, is serving on the committee that is reviewing how to make accessible contributions to help those in need. The Department of Revenue has notified communities that all properties should be reviewed to make sure their assessed valuations are up to date. Our office will be looking at approximately 200 properties this year with assistance from the Department of Revenue. Tonight, you will be asked to approve a payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement for the largest solar installation in town located at 1420 and 1522 Williams Street. More information will be provided when the article is presented for a vote. We have 2 other solar installations in various stages of completion, both of whom want pilot agreements. We may be able to present them at the fall town meeting if work is completed in a timely manner. In conclusion, please feel free to contact our office with any questions or concerns you may have regarding your real estate, personal property, and excise taxes. William F. Moore, Chairman, Nancy J. Goulart, Clerk, and Eric J. Easterday, Member. Thank you.
Are there any other town reports from town officials or the Capital Outlay Committee?
You get to hear me for 2. Good evening and welcome to town meeting. My name is Peter Roach. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. And let me begin by thanking the department heads, the town administrator, the town accountant, and most important, the Board of Selectmen Administrator, Karen Brady, for keeping me out of trouble. This year's budget process will continue to improve significantly over the past years. We did face significant challenges. I'd like to commend the financial team for their hard work over the last year in tightening many of the accounting policies and procedures that helped get the town to where we are. These changes have made the budget process for many of the town departments significantly more streamlined. Change is never easy. As a finance committee, we are seeing the improvements. Nothing happens overnight, but the benefits are being seen. To the challenges. Toward the end of January, we were looking at an initial budget request from the financial team that would have been under the levy limit. Then we received the DR budget. Over the past 5 years, our annual budget increases had averaged $435,000 with a high of $537,000. The increase from DR came in at 257% of the past 5-year average this year at $1,117,000. Town's projected new revenues, which comes from our 2.5% increase over last year plus our new growth, was at $885,000 for the year. The DR increase represents 126% of our new revenue. Obviously, that's not sustainable. As the 26th budget process begins pretty much right after this meeting ends, I encourage you to please reach out to school board members early and often during the budget process, which I assume is going to start July 1st as well. I know we heard a lot about right sizing, and just based on the high school enrollment, over the last 4 years it's down 20%. Over the last 8 years it's down 35%. Over the last 12 years it's down 40%. With this increase, after going through every budget line item, we could not provide a balanced budget without using free cash as a way to cross the line. We're proposing using free cash for one-time items like retirements, a year of out-of-town placement for a student, snow and ice, totaling $273,000, and additionally using $219,000 to pay operating expenses. Something that I've never done, and hopefully we'll never do again. And something to keep in mind, next year our VP debt payments increased by $400,000, and then we increased by another $300,000 to 300,000 the year after that. Not to throw too much at you, but I would like to thank Mr. Perry for his work with his committee did regarding waste collection. A dirty job. But with the fee for bags not keeping up with the cost of collection and recycling, the costs are now being absorbed more and more by real estate taxes as opposed to use. Not an easy committee to be on. There are a lot of opinions on both sides, but some good options came out of that committee, and I'm hopeful that there'll be more discussion in the near future. Overall, the budget provides a strong commitment to the services that we as townspeople expect. We took a conservative approach without jeopardizing the services that we require, while keeping an eye on future obligations. However, as I said before, there are difficult decisions on the horizon. A question that always gets asked every year, right now our capital stabilization is $1,549,000, roughly 5.7% of our budget. Stabilization is 1.969455. 7.3% of our budget. Free cash after the articles, if everything passes, will be $160,000, and the ambulance fund, assuming a transfer there, would be $373,000. Thank you for your attendance, and as a committee, we welcome all questions and comments along the way. It's a Capital Outlay Committee. The Capital Outlay Committee met in late April and ranked and evaluated a number of proposals for capital projects within the town. A number of projects like the fire station feasibility study, the Main Street project are about to get underway, and others like elementary school feasibility study are also being anticipated. Requested capital items exceed the town's ability to fund each request at this point, which has been further impacted by the town's operating budget. Proposed capital items on the warrant include a new police cruiser, which we haven't had one in 2 years, an additional $75,000 for the Main Street project, drainage for Old Somerset Ave improvements, an enclosed trailer for the highway department, and the first year of a 3-year lease purchase for an excavator. We anticipate the ability to fund future capital items is going to be more challenging, as we said, but we look forward to a reorganized capital outlay committee to continue to tackle the challenges and also just keep track of what is coming down the road. Thank you.
Any other town reports?
Mr. Moderator, I move that we accept the reports of the town officials as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 2.
Article 2, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint all necessary town officials and town committees not otherwise provided by statute or act thereupon. Yes, okay, Mr. Moderator, I move to make a motion to authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint all necessary town officials and town committees not otherwise provided by statute or act thereon.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $3,569.16 to pay prior year bills.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Article 3 passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to establish the salaries of elected officials for fiscal year 2025 in accordance with the provisions of Section 108, Chapter 41 of the General Laws as recommended by the Finance Committee and printed in Article 4 of the June 10th, 2024 Annual Town Meeting warrant. Second. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 5.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from sewer indirect costs to general government accounts as specified in the warrant for June 10th, 2024, annual town meeting, Article 5, specifically to raise and appropriate $1,803,503.30 and to transfer $20,274.55 from sewer indirect costs for personal and expenses of said departments as therein provided, the sum of $1,823,777.85 for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Come on to the mic to state your name and address, please.
Hi, good evening, David Carpenter, 1595 William Street, Dyke. I've got some line item questions, so I don't know if I do them all now or as they come up. But for number 122, the Board of Selectmen, looks like the personnel costs have dropped by 15%. I'm just curious what that entails.
That motion was only for the sewer.
Only for the sewer, okay. So, all right, I'm just looking at, you said Article 5, and then you start doing the budget under it, right? So,
Yes.
all right. So I'm just questioning some of the line items on the first page under Article 5. Or am I misreading this?
So your question was the reduction in,
Well, yeah,
122.
reduction in personnel 15%, and then the increase in expenses of like 20 to 24%.
Personnel is... The personnel line is, last year we had a $20,000 placeholder for the clerical union negotiations.
Okay.
That got signed and then is no longer needed. That's been spread out between all of the departments for all of the clerical expense.
Okay. How about the expenses?
Bear with me.
Yes. In terms of the proposed increase is in expenses is in the 122 BOS budget. Like you will note that there is a proposed increase. Can actually include in the line item budget in the communications commingled billing line. That is actually the line we fund that is actually the line item that we fund the town's Comcast and Verizon's account under. We have been, over the last 3 years, we have faced increases in those accounts. One of the opportunities that we have, as FY25 progresses, is we just actually through a $200,000 grant we had installed a municipal fiber line that will throughout FY25 allow us to begin consolidating a lot of the accounts that we have now. So planning for FY26, based on that consolidation that we do now plan for and anticipate, we don't yet know what the savings will be, but we do expect, based on the consolidation I mentioned, we do expect that line to be able to decrease as we realize the savings in FY25 that will help us plan for FY26 as well. But in terms of the proposed expenses, the lion's share of the increases is, as I mentioned, for Comcast and Verizon accounts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are you going to do these line by line, or are you doing them like in groupings?
Yeah, so we're doing 113 to 195.
Okay, well, then,
Keep going.
yep, thanks. Okay. Number 145 for the expenses. I'm just wondering why the Finance Committee recommended, I'm going to say it looks about $3,700 less than the Board of Selectmen.
So we looked at this, the way that the departments now do their budgeting is through the zero base, so that they're building up from each item. And there was basically $3,700 in items there that we didn't feel were necessary.
Okay. Is there any detail for that, or just?
I can get it for you. Do you have?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
I mean, there's a number of line items that I'm asking about where there are differences between the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and they all seem to be less at your end than theirs. So if these are all similar things, maybe Mr. Reynolds can help me here.
Yes.
I'll be happy to sit down.
So I do have our breakout from the 145 town treasurer's line.
Yeah.
And then in professional and technical, we had reduced it from 16,800 to 12,600. Based on both the zero budget and based on where spending was going for the year. We had originally reduced one of the other lines, but then had to bump that back up when some other costs came in towards the end of the process.
Okay. I mean, none of these are really, hugely outstanding. I don't think there's anything more on here than maybe like $5 grand tops in difference in some of the lines. I was just wondering.
In the end of the day, like I said, we went through each line, went through each expense that each department had requested. And, in keeping in mind where we're going over the next year and 2 years, if there was an opportunity for us to save $300, we were going to save that $300. So there are a number of accounts where the Finance Committee recommendation is lower.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's it for now. I mean, all right, thank you.
So, as Chairman Roach stated, when we originally had done our budget, we were using a zero-based budgeting model. And my office has had some things that we've had to contend with mid-year in the past. There were unanticipated expenses, such as postage increases, or a couple of years ago, fiscal 23, when we were doing a land auction, there was some engineering that needed to be done on one of those parcels prior to sale. And so when we had done a zero-based budget, I did put somewhere around $3,000 of contingency, things that I frankly didn't know what exactly we were going to need. And to be honest, with tough fiscal budgets and the difficulty balancing, it was perfectly sound reasoning to reduce those. I had no problems with that. Ironically, my unanticipated expenses came to fruition a little quicker than I had anticipated. For the reason being that the actuaries who conduct the actuarial review for our OPEB account, they oscillate in different years between pass-through analyses and then full actuarial workup. And the costs for that can swing fairly dramatically. Where we had originally worked out my budget based on a previous valuation, which cost around $3,200, $3,300. And then ironically, after the Finance Committee had had its meetings and done its recommendation, subsequently we received a notification in early June from our actuary that this was actually going to be a full valuation year, and the cost ended up going up by approximately $3,700. So it ended up being kind of a prescient coincides with circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Mr. Moderator, can I speak to that? A little loud. When the Board of Selectmen met and was looking at our recommendations, they were slightly different than the Finance Committee. And really, I think the Board of Selectmen wanted to err on the side of caution. We were hearing feedback from our boards and our support that if we cut too much, it could affect town services. We heard, things from the Pitney Bowes machine, which is how we mail all of our town mail to fuel for our fire trucks. And those are services that are critical, and we would rather err on the side of caution than to cut too much and not have funding for those services. So we felt we did our due diligence with our recommendations, and at a certain point, we decided to stop with the cuts and make a recommendation. So that's why there are variances amongst the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee.
Just to provide some clarification, the motions being made are based off of the Finance Committee recommendations printed in the warrant. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Article 4 passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from the ambulance fund the total amount of $4,245,292.50 to public safety accounts as specified in the warrant for June 10th, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, specifically to raise and appropriate $3,790,292.50 and to transfer $455,000 from the ambulance fund for the fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 5 passes unanimously. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate for education assessments as specified in the warrant for June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, the sum of $14,731,338.48 for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate to the highway accounts as specified in the warrant for the June 10th, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically for personnel and expenses of the highway department as therein provided, the sum of $1,081,758.51 for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate to the sanitation account, to wit, waste collection and disposal and transfer station as specified in the warrant for the June 10th, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically for personnel and expenses of said department as therein provided, the sum of $877,162.49 for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
887.
$887,162.49 for the fiscal year of 2025. The Finance Committee recommends.
For a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate to other environmental accounts, to wit, the cemetery account as specified in the warrant for June 10th, 2024, annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically for personnel and expenses of said department as therein provided, the sum of $30,021.50 for the fiscal year 2025.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $460,310.01 to human service accounts as specified in the warrant for June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5 for personnel and expenses of said departments as therein provided in fiscal year 2025.
Motion made and seconded.
Motion to amend? Okay. I move to amend Human Services Department 510, Board of Health Regulations and Inspections, personnel line, specifically for the town to vote to reduce line number 5107, Board of Health Director, as known by the Accounting Department, by $21,402, and to further restrict any further FY25 appropriations to line 5107 as allowable by law. Line number 510 personnel will now be $133,515. All other human services accounts shall be as recommended by the Finance Committee for a total raise and appropriate amount of $438,908.01 for personnel and expenses of said department for FY25.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the amendment?
Can I speak to it? I made this motion to amend as a resident, not as a member of the Board of Selectmen. I think I work in Town Hall, and I see right now there's a lot of decision makers in the Board of Health. There is a Board of Health, and then we have a Board of Health Director. So this amendment would basically remove the position of Board of Health Director, and my view is we can go back to how the town used to do it, where we had a health agent who functioned as a department head but wasn't called department head. So I would like to see FY25, the Board of Health agent prove themselves and step up to the position, and FY26 name it a department head level position. Just like many of our other boards, committees, and town offices run. Like I said, there's just so many levels of management in there right now, and I feel like it's been kind of clunky as far as, do you go to the Board of Health? Do you go to the office, the director right now? So I would just like to see it. It just would be kind of smoother. It'd save the town $21,000. And I just want to speak to why I brought it to town meeting. I thought it makes more sense for the body here to decide on an important issue, because it does involve, no one will lose their job, but it does involve personnel. And I think it's important. It's just smoother. It's a smoother process, and it goes a lot further with what we decide tonight. Either way, whichever way the town decides. If we decide it here, rather than making the Board of Health decide or the Board of Selectmen, I think this is the correct body to decide on the future of the Board of Health. And I, for one, would like to be able to have transparency and hear my grievances to a board in a public meeting than the way we have it now. It's just, I think it'll be transparency, it'll be a little more efficient, and for one fiscal year at least, we'll save over $20,000. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Patrick McGovern, 1361 Main Street. I just wanted to speak on the other end of that, being on the Board of Health, and as a resident. I'm all for saving money, and I'm here because we do need to cut a a lot of money when you do need to bring our budgets closer together so we can function as a town. I had heard about this recently, that this was being brought up. This line item was put into last year's budget, if I believe so, and voted on by the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Health created a job description and moved the board forward with this description. All of a sudden now we're coming up a year later. I understand the money's tight, but we're coming up a year later and cutting an employee's salary just because a Board of Selectmen member wants to see change. So how are we ever going to have employees in this town work to prove that their value if we're just going to randomly cut their salary because we want to take a step back and see what the Board of Health was? The decision to make this position was made to bring the Board of Health a step forward, to make sure that somebody is there on a daily basis to have oversight on the Board of Health and not make Board of Health members have to have full-time jobs sitting in that office making daily decisions and go back to Board of Health meetings. I don't think this is a step in the right direction for the Board of Health. I think this is a step back for the Board of Health. As I said, the job description was written, presented to the town administrator, presented to the Board of Selectmen, and unanimously approved. A year later, we have a change in the board, and they want to bring it back. It's not going to bring good employees to the town. It's not going to foster a good employee to step forward and help out a department when they can. Thank you.
Just to go off of what Patrick said, I do think it's too soon to remove this position. The department is starting to be in a better place, and I really think that they deserve that. And as well as if this is something that the Board of Health decides to take away, then they should be the body to do that, as they are the ones that oversee.
Mr. Moderator. Peter Roach, 1995 Wellington Street. As was noted, this position was added last year, a year ago. It was a position that it took a number of years to even bring forth to know what was needed. It's my understanding that over this year that there have been improvements, but as I said in my opening, change takes time and is not always easy. If this position, and I would love to save $20,000, but if this position does what it's supposed to do, a $21,000 savings is going to be less than, we're going to be seeing greater savings down the road just by the efficiency of the department. And hopefully by, as was stated, the overall well-being of the department itself.
Mr. Gill? Please, the microphone is coming to you.
I'm for the cut.
And we're going to name and address for the record.
Jonathan Gale, 22 Waterford Circle, Dayton. I am for the cut, and I'll explain why. I think some people may disagree with me, but I think there's a conflict of interest between having the building commissioner be the same person as the director of the Board of Health. There are certain conflicts when you're looking at whether a facility is ready and prepared, for example, for food. There are issues whether a building meets safety codes and kitchens, things like that. I don't think that that person necessarily has the prerequisite to also be the director of the Board of Health.
Mr. Gale, you're speaking on a person's performance, not mine.
Okay, well,
I'm speaking about the position.
I'm sorry?
We're speaking about the position.
Well, for the position, I think that you need a different person holding both positions. I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Lot 631 Great Terrace, Dayton. Director of the Board of Health is nothing new. This was brought up when the Board of Selectmen was the Board of Health. Obviously, the Board of Selectmen reached the point of being overwhelmed with the amount of work that had to be done for the Board of Health. I've served as a member, the clerk, and also chairman of the Board of Health, also serving in those same positions as a member of the Board of Selectmen. When the position was first brought up years ago, we looked at it and it was determined it wasn't going to solve the problem. There was a suggestion we go to 5 selectmen. That wasn't going to solve the problem. So what happened was we split off the Board of Selectmen, created an appointed Board of Health, and that's how we've operated up until about a year and a half ago. Now, the structure in the Board of Health was 3 members, an office manager who operated, if you will, the day-to-day operation, and a combination health agent, stormwater agent. The person who held the office manager job resigned and went elsewhere, and we hired a person to be the office manager. That person should be running that office on a day-to-day basis, working with the Board of Health. The agent that was hired is not a combination stormwater and health agent. I think that job is focused on health. There is no support for stormwater agent. That's why for some projects we've had to go out and hire an engineering firm in conjunction with other boards that need engineering services. My concern is you've developed another layer of government that's not necessary. You've got a full-time office manager. Let her do her job. A health agent was hired. Let that person do their job. They, in turn, report to the Board of Health. There is not a return on investment in this particular case. We're lacking part of the services we had. We have nobody qualified in the Board of Health Department or any other department to provide the missing service that we're looking for, part-time stormwater agent. I also recognize we were fortunate in that that person was not only health agent, he is a PE. And although he wasn't hired as that, we benefited from that education and those licenses. The real problem at the Board of Health is they haven't been able to work together for over a year and a half. That has
This is
led
school
to
out again.
resignations. So let's look at strictly administration. We now have a 3-member Board of Health. The message to that Board of Health needs to be, you will work together, and you will be a team, and you will do the job that you have been appointed to do. And if anyone feels that they can't live up to that, they should leave, and we'll get someone else to do it. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Can I speak one more time? There was just some comments made that the Board of Selectmen are proposing this. I stated right when I started that it wasn't the Board of Selectmen, so it's just not fair for my colleagues to take any heat for this. I've seen how it operated both ways, and I just want to point out one more time. You have a more transparent government when you can air your grievances right to a board. There's no middleman. And I really want to piggyback on what Nancy Goulart said, where we have staff. So I don't agree with our Board of Health member's statement that they have a full-time job and this would add a lot of burden to them. I have a full-time job and I'm a Board of Selectmen, and I find time. I think full-time folks on the Board of Health can also find the time for our taxpayers and, air out grievances in public meetings just like we're doing today. And if we have a full-time health agent in the future and we have a full-time office manager now, that will allow the office to function as it is. And again, it's cutting out a level of government that we really don't need, especially in these financial times. Thank you.
Any other discussion? And I apologize, the lights are bright. If I can't see your hand, please stand up. Hearing none, we are voting on the motion to amend. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion passes. Now we'll move back to vote on the original motion as amended. Is there any discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Just for clarification, the motion passes as amended.
by request of the body, asked to reread the motion, so I move to amend Human Services Department 510 Board of Health Regulations and Inspection personnel line specifically for the town to vote to reduce line 5107 Board of Health Director as known by the accounting department by $21,402 and to further restrict any further FY25 appropriations to line 5107 as allowable by law. Line number 510 personnel will now be $133,515. All other human services accounts shall be as recommended by the Finance Committee for a total raise and appropriate amount of $438,908.01 for personnel and expenses of said department for FY25.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from PEG access and cable-related funds to culture and recreation accounts the sum of $387,881.27 as specified in the warrant for June 10, 2024, Annual Town Meeting, Article 5, and specifically to raise and appropriate $339,601.27 and to transfer $48,280 from PEG access for personnel and expenses as therein provided for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Good evening. Pat Gales, 825 Whitmore Lane. I would like to make a motion to amend line 691, the Historical Commission, for expenses to $1,400.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to amend?
I would just like to say that our Historical Commission finally has an active 7-member group. We're working hard, and we've had kind of a slow start coming back from COVID, but we're finally getting it together. We're working on updating our surveys. We're planning programs, walking tour brochure for self-guided tours, preserving memory program. So we feel that it's in the best interest of Dayton's history to have our budget at $1,400.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Moderator, the amendment should have a total appropriation, like what the new appropriation would be.
We also ask that your motion here, amendment, be presented in the form of writing for the town clerk as well, please. Yes. You got it? You're good?
Okay, so the total appropriation would be Shari, do you have the math? Would you do the math for the total appropriation? For the culture, it adds $250 to the $388,881. I didn't realize I had to do that math.
Sorry. 388, 131, 27.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it would be the $250 to the Finance Committee's recommendation?
For a total of 388, 131, 27. That's your motion.
That's my motion, thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I could. So we reduced the professional and technical line for the Historic Commission by $250 based on 2 years ago spending $50, last year spending $20. So the additional $450 over the last couple of years we felt was acceptable. The additional money, where would that go?
The additional money will help fund the programs that we're planning to do and continuing our professional development. So there is a conference that our members would like to go to in probably September. It's being planned, and also to help promotion of our Preserving Memories program. You said $20 and $50?
2022 was $50 for professional and technical, and 2023 was $18.99.
So yeah, we just spent a lot of our professional and technical. We did some mapping, and we also, it hasn't come in yet, but two of us did go to a conference last week.
So through March, we had zero spent in that line. In the current year, do you know where you are so now at this point?
I believe I estimate that we will be pretty close to our 1,400 for this year. I have an expense for our historical plaque of $80 out there, which is cheaper than we had originally budgeted for. And we're putting in for our conference and travel for 2 people.
Volunteers are the lifeblood to our town, and with that said, I support this motion.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace. Mr. Moderator, in the past, no moderator has allowed increases to take place at the town meeting. They have not been posted out there publicly, and the public has not been warned. I support this. What I suggest is tonight, pass what's on the warrant, have Mrs. Gales come back in the fall for the additional money she needs. I don't think we want to start a precedent of allowing increases on town meeting floor. It's not a lot of money, but that's not the point. This has not been advertised publicly, and everyone that got this is not aware of this. So, again, I recommend pass what is on there tonight and have Mrs. Gales come back in the fall town meeting to get the additional money she needs. Thank you.
Jake 751 Council Oak. I was just wondering, for clarification, is it possible to make a motion to table this request to the fall special meeting? No. We have to vote on the amendment, right?
It would be inappropriate to table the amendment.
Okay.
Just to provide some feedback to Mrs. Goulart's comment too, I don't feel like it's my authority to suppress the voters of Dayton, whether they want to increase or decrease any budget item. I would defer to the Finance Committee to back up that information, whether or not we do have the levy capacity to handle the request of the voters of Dayton, but I certainly would.
Mr. Moderator, the reason it hasn't been approved in the past to allow increases on town meeting floor is because any budget that hasn't been passed on tonight can actually be increased, if you allow this, by a vote of those present. The public has not been warned of the content of such amendments. So it does no harm to approve what's budgeted here tonight and have her come back. I believe there's enough support to get the additional money in the fall. But if you allow this one time, you can't prohibit anyone else. And we've got some very large budgets that we certainly wouldn't want increased. So that's the reason that's been done. Again, it's up to the moderator, and I just bring this to your attention because of what's historically happened. Thank you.
The motion was made and seconded to amend. please speak directly into the microphone? I know sometimes it's difficult for individuals in the back to hear.
Yeah, Glenn Jefferson, 270 Hillcrest Drive. I just want to clarify a point to Nancy's comment is, town meeting body can amend anything they want. So I'm to the point I wanted to say call it a damn amendment because we're talking about it. But the thing is, if someone wanted to come up here and amend the highway department, $20,000, $200,000, they can if the town meeting body doesn't. Where it comes from, sorry, we saw what happened in the town of Rehoboth a few years back. So it's a joy of town meeting. So with that, I'd also like to see how we call the question on the amendment.
All those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Checkers, could you please close the doors and come forward? So we're going to take a hand count on the motion to amend. To increase the historical commission budget by 200. All those in favor, if you could raise your hands and keep them raised. Please keep your hands raised until the checkers make their way back to the stage of the final count.
No. Did you give her? Do I get 20?
All right, you may raise, lower your hands. Not yet. All right, make everyone on that side, please raise your hands who are in favor of the amendment. All right, you may lower your hands. All those opposed, now please raise your hands and keep them raised. motion to amend passes with 56 yeses and 45 noes. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended? The motion to amend is a simple majority vote. Is there any discussion on the original motion as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from Title V the sum of $351,093 to debt service accounts as specified in the warrant for the June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, specifically to raise and appropriate $344,424 and to transfer $6,669 from Title V for expenses for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $206,153 to state and county charges to its state county assessment charges as specified in the warrant for June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5 for expenses for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $2,605,316 to employee benefit accounts as specified in the warrant for June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5, and specifically for expenses of said accounts as therein provided for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $251,608 to liability insurance accounts as specified in the warrant for the June 10, 2024 annual town meeting, Article 5 for expenses of said accounts as therein provided for fiscal year 2025. Finance Committee recommends.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the sums outlined to be expended under the direction of the Board of Sewer Commissioners for the maintenance of the sewer enterprise for fiscal year 2025 as recommended by the Finance Committee and printed in Article 6 of the June 10, 2024 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Could you please, if you want, please come up to the mic and we can bring it up.
David Arujo, 790 Tremont Street. That motion was just under Article 6. Was it?
Yes.
So I was wondering about Article 5. Under the educational piece of Article 5, I could have fallen asleep, but I don't think we went through the educational piece for DR, did we? We did? And I missed it. Okay, because we didn't get the report from the superintendent of schools either this evening, which would come under the reports of committees, and I was, wondering how the school system was working out at this point in time in 2024. So I apologize for falling asleep. I'll try and stay awake.
Is there any other discussion for Article 6? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Article 6 passes unanimously. Article 7?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to reappropriate the sum of $125,000 from the fiscal year 24 Sewer Enterprise Fund operating budget to fund a planned Somerset Avenue pump station upgrade project and related costs.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $88,000 from free cash to fund the FY24 snow and ice deficit. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Article 8 passes unanimously. Article 9?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the town bylaws, Article 36, Section 5, authorized revolving funds, to add and establish additional revolving funds as outlined in Article 9 of the June 10, 2024 annual town meeting warrant.
Finance Committee recommends.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Sorry, it's quiet.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1/2, as most recently amended, to establish fiscal year limitations on expenditures from the revolving funds established by the Town of Dayton General Bylaws, Section 36, Departmental Revolving Funds, with such limitations for fiscal year 25 as stated in Article 10 of the June 10, 2024 annual town meeting warrant.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to make changes in grade taken land by purchase of eminent domain and to settle damages from land taken in conjunction with the fiscal year 2025 highway program under Chapter 90 in the Town Road Improvement Program.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to grant the Board of Selectmen the authority to obtain whatever parcels of easement or easements as necessary to make changes in grade, take land by purchase or eminent domain, and settle damages from land taken in conjunction with highway maintenance or road or bridge reconstruction projects.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adjust the eligibility limits for the senior tax exemption available under the provision of General Law, C-59, Section 5, Clause 41C1/2 by reducing from 70 to 65 age of eligibility.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate a reserve from the Community Preservation Act annual reserves in the amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee, CPC, for the committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in the fiscal year 2025, with which each item to be considered in a separate appropriation or take any action relative thereto as appropriate as mentioned in warrant article 14 and June 10, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town will vote to appropriate $5,000 from the CPA fund balance reserve for open space and $57,500 from the CPA unreserved undesignated fund balance for a total of $62,500 to be extended to the Community Preservation Committee for the Broad Cove Nature Trail Project Phase 1 conducted by the Dayton Trails Committee. Project completion and expenditure of funds shall be in accordance with Step 7 of the Town of Dayton Community Preservation Committee application and guidelines, or take any action relative thereto as noted in warrant article 15, June 10, 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Good evening, Dayton. Jeff Cavallo, 2124 Tommy's Way. With the Trails Committee, also with Mr. Bill Frenette, also from the Trails Committee. So this article we have before you this evening was approved by the CPC, and I want to just point out that this is not, these are funds that are already on hand. That's, if the question is where's the funding coming from. So what this is going to do is we are on the Trails Committee putting together a two-phase project for preliminary design for a elevated boardwalk at Broad Cove Nature Trail. If you've ever been to the Broad Cove Nature Trail, there's a west entrance and a north entrance. So this is going to connect the west entrance to the outcropping in the middle, where there's a observation platform right now, and then from that point it's going to turn north. So the importance of doing that is to keep foot traffic off of the salt marsh and to allow better access to that area for the town of Dayton, for members of our residents of the town of Dayton, as well as anybody who's visiting this. So this is a two-phase project that's going to result in a preliminary design. So what this article tonight is to fund phase 1, which is going to be items such as wetland delineation report, geotechnical observation and analysis, borings, and administration. So that's going to be phase 1, and the intent is to wrap this up in the first fiscal year 25, if this does get awarded. And then once that gets wrapped up, we're going to be writing grants to fund phase 2, which would be the remainder of the preliminary design. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town will vote to appropriate $3,500 from the CPA fund balance reserve for historical resources to be expended by the Community Preservation Committee for the community-wide historic properties survey conducted by the Dayton Historical Commission to identify 10 historical properties in West Dayton area of town. Project completion and expenditure of funds shall be in accordance with Step 7 of the Town of Dayton Community Preservation Committee's application and guidelines, or take any action relative thereto in accordance with Article 16, June 10, 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Pat Gales, 825 Goodmark Lane, and chairperson of the Dayton Historical Commission. This money would allow us to continue our efforts in updating our survey and identifying our historic resources in town. So far through our CPC, we've done almost 200 properties, and those survey forms are available at Town Hall. There's some in the assessor's office, and the town clerk does have some. Or if anyone Historical Commission, we also have copies. And this would add to that database. Thanks.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 17.
Just see, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $50,000 to be deposited in the capital stabilization fund.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $75,000 to be combined with pre-existing ATM Article number 20 of the June 15th, 2023, and expended by the Highway Superintendent to fund Main Street reconstruction, repaving, sidewalk construction, and related work.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $15,000 from free cash to be expended by the Highway Superintendent to purchase one enclosed trailer and related equipment. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $15,000 from free cash to be expended by the Highway Superintendent to fund drainage upgrades and associated repairs on Old Somerset Avenue. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum not to exceed $10,000 from free cash to be expended by the Highway Superintendent to fund bathroom modifications and related repairs at the Highway Garage. The Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, move that the town vote to transfer $45,000 from free cash to be expended by the Highway Superintendent to fund the first year of a 3-year payment of a lease purchase agreement for one excavator and to fund any related equipment. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $8,545 to be expended by the Highway Superintendent for the purchase of a line striping machine and any related accessories. The Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to reappropriate the sum of $3,000 from Special Article Account 010-2-122-0000-22-5301, point of sale system, initially approved for the purchase of a point of sale system for the transfer station in Article 11 of the special town meeting on November 1st, 2022, to be expended by the Highway Superintendent for the purchase of security cameras at the transfer station at 865 Tremont Street and the Highway Department garage at 2011 County Street, and any related accessories. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, David Carpenter, 1595 William Street, Dayton. Just like to ask what equipment or assets they have at the transfer station requiring 24/7 monitoring surveillance.
So the question was for the transfer station in particular?
Yeah.
We did have trail cameras out there to help out, and we do have human activity there before 4 o'clock in the morning. So we do need to detect and for safety also.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from PEG Access and Cable-related Fund Account number 240-3300-698-0330-3022-40, the amount of $40,000 to be expended by the Cable Committee to upgrade the Channel 9 broadcast server by replacement, purchase, and installation of live stream equipment for mobile use and in Dayton Public School locations and any related equipment. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $6,300 from free cash to be expended by the town clerk for the purchase of pole pads and any related accessories. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer, town vote to transfer $6,800 from free cash and $25,700 from available funds for the purposes of reimbursing the actual cost upon completion and inspection of a phone system upgrade to make current system compliant with E911 capabilities for Dayton Middle School, Dayton Elementary School, and proportionate share of Dayton Rehoboth Regional High School. Finance Committee recommends.
I would like to second that. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, under discussion, I would like to make a motion at this time that Superintendent Bill Rooney address the board in regards to this E911 article, since it does apply to the school district.
Motion made to allow Mr. Rooney to speak.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And I apologize if I missed my opportunity earlier with the department reports. That wasn't clear to me. So bear with me. I'm going to give you a little bit of the state of the school system address. I'd like to start by expressing my appreciation to the town of Dayton's support for the last 23 months that I've been here on the job. I am extremely grateful for the collaboration from our school committee members and everyone at Town Hall, Selectmen, FinCom, Advisory Finance, thank you, Ms. Lorenz, and also Mr. Mullen. I am extremely proud of the partnerships that we have fostered with Chief Nichols, Chief McGee, and all of their colleagues in both departments. In the last 2 years, we have really stressed the importance of unifying our towns around the mission of education, and I'm proud to say that We Are DR is a real thing and that we have made considerable progress. Speaking of DPD and Dayton Fire, we are very appreciative of the warrant article that the town approved last year for safety and security. When I arrived, neither Dayton Middle nor Dayton Elementary had security cameras. They also lacked electronic door monitoring technology.
Thanks to the town's prudent decision, we will start the school year in September with a dramatically different safety and security position. Our students and staff will be safer thanks to you. At this time, we are asking your consideration of another step in safety and security, as our phone system is not E911 compliant. What this means is that a 911 call currently is only seen from coming from that street address. It does not pinpoint which room the call emanates from. This is a safety upgrade that will dramatically improve response time, increasing the safety of our students, but also, as important, increasing the safety of the first responders, as they will know exactly where to go. In closing, I will acknowledge that school district finances across Massachusetts have been a hot topic. My team and I worked very hard to create as efficient and effective as a budget as possible. And yes, I am aware that we are 200+% and 100+% in excess of certain aspects of the town budget. However, we have made a nominal 3.48% increase that still requires us to cut 18.5 positions. The governor's budget has inexplicably underestimated the impacts of inflation, and this is why you see an uncharacteristic increase for this particular year. And we will start working on FY26 as soon as possible in an effort to make things better for next year. We are very fortunate to have Rehoboth pass the assessment last week, and we're grateful for the town's passage tonight. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $85,000 from free cash to be expended by the police chief for one fully equipped police vehicle, including computer, firearm, patrol rifle, radio antenna, and any accessories relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $15,000 from free cash to be expended by the Conservation Commission for legal and related expenses of litigation and administrative appeals in which the Conservation Commission, the town of Dayton, and/or relevant town officials are parties. The Finance Committee recommends.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Arms?
Good evening, Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street, and member of the Conservation Commission. We have made this request tonight, so I can't speak in any specifics. There are both the Board of Selectmen's long-standing policy regarding not discussing the matters that are under litigation, as well as the law providing for certain privacy and matters that occur in executive session. So I cannot speak about anything specific, but what I will say is that the Conservation Commission is comprised of entirely unpaid volunteers who work very hard to make decisions that consider the facts of every individual case. The decisions that we make are not arbitrary or capricious. They are based on the expertise of our agent. They're based on the peer review engineers who we consult with, wetland scientists, and so forth. And the commission makes decisions that are based on the facts that we hope and that we always endeavor to do so using discretion and using sound, articulable reasoning based on the Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Dayton Local Conservation Bylaw. And now, certain applicants, sometimes if a decision does not resolve in the manner in which they would like, they choose to pursue resolution to court, which is their right. And I can't speak on any specific matters, but I will say that in my belief as a resident and in my personal capacity, I can't speak on behalf of the commission, but as in my experience as a commissioner, this is money well spent to protect your wetland resources. We ask ask for these resources in order to represent the positions of our commission and uphold the validity of the reasoning when we make decisions. And I sincerely hope that you will consider funding this article tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Gale? Hold on 1 second, Mr. Gale.
Jonathan Gale, 22 Waterford Circle in Dayton. And I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but what I would ask is if we could get from the Conservation Commission an idea for this particular type piece of legislation of expenditure, how much has been spent to date? Because I believe it's been a significant amount of dollars, and at least if you don't want to say who the litigant is, and I understand that, if you could give us an overview of what's transpired for the amount of money that has been spent so far, because I do believe that it's been in and out of the court at least several times. And I don't know that the town has won anything yet. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't spend it. I'm going to leave that to the body here, but I do believe that the body needs to know how much we have spent, if this amount of money is potentially the end of it, or if there's a potential to come back in special and ask for another amount of dollars. Thank you.
Mr. Reynolds, you care to respond?
This question unfortunately puts me in a little bit of a disadvantage since I don't, I'm reluctant to give too much information about a matter that might compromise the legal position of the town of Dayton or a legal matter. To that point, I would not feel comfortable acknowledging a specific applicant or a specific matter that the funds are in regard to. The town has been, the commission has been involved in rendering decisions on a multitude of projects that have attracted varying levels of public interest. And I don't want to conflate one expense with another. No two projects are identical. And so I don't feel that it would be a fair assessment if I were to give you one piece of information in a vacuum, since I may or may not have an inkling about any project that might be referred to. But it's again, it would not be something that would be appropriate for you to say. I don't feel based on the ongoing nature of the litigation.
Leonard Hall, 760 Main Street, Dayton. The issue before us is a case of money that's probably already been spent. I would keep that in mind in approving this or not approving this because of the consequences of that. The second question I have is what perimeters are going to be put in place as we go forward so this doesn't happen again. So these decisions are made at the selectmen's level or through the budgetary process as we put our legal budget together, so this doesn't keep happening. Because one of the risks you run is when you come to a town meeting, if you have already made a commitment financially or contractually, the town is obligated to that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept a proposed police chief hiring process bylaw to be inserted as a new section under Article 4 of the general bylaws as presented in Article 30 of the annual town meeting warrant of June 10, 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
2490 Maple Swamp Road. I would just like to know, how is this developed? And we talk about professionalizing municipal government, but this takes the town administrator out of the process completely. So I'd like to know how this was developed.
I can speak to that. This was my first, I started to draft this, it's like the first thing I did when I was elected as a selectman. I looked at neighboring communities, and I will be transparent, I added the word town administrator in, and I thought it was, you know what? It took power away from the full board of selectmen. You know, they're not a part of the screening committee, and the town administrator is an extension of the board. And I felt that with recent events that happened, there was, and I really don't want to put the board down in any way, and I don't mean anything disrespectful. I just felt for the confidence of our community and also for the morale of our police department, it was the best to limit the board and again the town administrator and extension, the board's scope in the police chief hiring process. And it was brought, it was run by our police department, it was run by the town administrator, who really can't comment. And the full board did adopt it to put on the warrant, so that's my comments.
It just seems like we're taking a step back and not professionalizing the government. Town administrator, you hired to oversee the day-to-day operations. So to take them out of an advisory role to advise you as the board seems foolish to me. Who would you expect to have on that screening committee as a professional to provide input, if not your town administrator?
I feel we have a human resources person, and I feel the town has learned enough from this, and I think as a learning experience, I think it's best that the board of selectmen and town administrator are removed from the process in the future. That's just my one opinion.
I would just urge town meeting to consider that. You hire a chief administrative officer for a reason in your town administrator. Utilize their skills, you hire them, the board relies on them. Take them out of the hiring of a police chief seems very foolish. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I could.
Joanne Peterson, 3091 Hunters Hill Drive. I do have a question on the second paragraph. We're appointing a police chief for a period of 3 years, and then he can be reappointed. Is that the only position in the town that we're going to reappoint after 3 years? Why not fire chief or a department head? If you're hiring a police chief, shouldn't he be able to serve? Don't they have job descriptions and have to meet certain goals in their jobs? It just seems like we're singling out the police chief again.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
The only reason it says the 3 years is that's just what's spelled out in Mass General Law. That's the maximum appointment you can do is 3 years. So you can do a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, or anywhere in between, but you can't go above the 3 years. So it's really just to be consistent with the law. We don't have the authority to appoint above that 3 years.
So that means that in 3 years, he could be out on the street looking for another job.
That's a problem with the legislatures. That's beyond the town, our scope. I looked into, there's different types of chief processes, but both of them, to my research, was a maximum of a 3 year appointment. It's beyond this board and this body. It's my opinion. I'm not an attorney, but just from my research, it's just, personally, I would put it more if we could, but 3 years is the max.
Okay. Suppose the next board decides to do away with him. He's doing a great job. All his evaluations are great, but they don't like the guy, so they just say, goodbye. Do you think you're going to find well-qualified people that want to come to Dayton? That's food for thought, folks.
Sure. Just two questions. One, the article, the bylaw doesn't specify the screening committee, so who would be the screening committee? How's that determined?
Exactly. It's not written. It gives the town some flexibility to have it.
Okay, so the bylaw would be in place, but the screening committee would be up to whoever's currently on the board. And then my second point would be why Why would it, what benefit is it to townspeople to limit the pool of applicants for a police chief, which, as was just stated, is a vital position in the town?
I'm happy to respond if you want. So I just kind of sat through the police chief process like a lot of folks, and I felt like we needed to deliver to our police department a strong message that we support promoting from within. So this bylaw does just that, without being overly restrictive with, defining exactly what the screening committee was. The problem was we had one finalist for police chief. This bylaw makes it so you have to have a minimum of 2 finalists while still delivering a message to our police department that we promote from within, and further limiting the power of the Board of Selectmen. I don't know, that was my view as a citizen, is watching the events unfold. I feel that this bylaw would have cured those issues that I identified, and that's my comments.
Glenn Jefferson, 270 Hillcrest Drive. So I guess I'm kind of against this for a few avenues. So first, to answer the previous speaker's comment, yeah, that's the life of the board. I mean, anytime someone works with a board, a new board can get in and not renew their contracts. And relation to this is, I think we're specifically focusing on the police chief. We all know what happened, but what about highway superintendent? When we want to replace, Tommy finally decides to retire. Maybe the town needs a better policy around how do we handle hiring. And also, I don't necessarily support you have to have 2, to the point that was just made, when the last time we hired a superintendent, the second finalist pulled out right after we were down to do deliberations. Now, would that have meant we have to go back to search? I don't know, I just think I understand it's probably a knee-jerk reaction, but I kind of, if we're going to develop a hiring policy, figure out something that might be more generic for the town to maybe, I know we're all trying to figure out how to prevent what happened, but just my thoughts.
Mr. Ferry is not allowed to retire, he knows that.
Robert Gear, 169 Winter Street. I'm reading through this and I see a lot of what it says that the screening committee is responsible for, but I don't understand what and how, and I'll echo what was said already, is that how the screening committee is selected. And I think that by not putting that in here or having it in our town bylaws, that it's a static issue or standard, that this should not be voted on tonight.
Okay, respond one more time. Okay, so this will be my last comments. I feel as though if we define the screening committee, it might be overly prescriptive, and we really do need a little bit of flexibility with that. It's not like the screening committee would be decided behind closed doors. It's still in a publicly posted meeting, but it's not decided in a body like tonight where we meet twice a year. This, gives some flexibility to the town. You never know the circumstances. We do need a little bit of flexibility, and I agree and commit to working on a personnel bylaw. We need that for our town. But from what I've seen, there is no simple remedy for a personnel bylaw. There's so many positions are, some are appointed by selectmen, some are by mass general law, some are by different elected boards. So I agree we need one, but I think the process is to do it one by one. That's just what I've seen. We've learned so much from each position that we've hired, and I think that's the time to kind of put it in writing for the next one. It's just, sometimes government's clunky in my opinion, and this is one of those things where one size doesn't fit all.
Mr. Gale, you're like third in line. I just don't want you to sit there with your hand up, so I got you.
I'd like to make a motion to table this discussion until there can be more of the details worked out.
Motion made and seconded. This is a non-discussion motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's table passes.
No motion.
Moderator, I move that the town will vote to amend Article 39 of the General Bylaws Municipal Commission on Disability at the recommendation of the existing members of the said commission and as presented in Article 32 of the annual town meeting warrant of June 10, 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Good evening, David Rosa, Lincoln Avenue. Thank you all of our officials for coming out, and the townspeople for coming out this evening. I have reviewed Article 32, and I would like to table it. I'd like to make a motion to table it. And I believe, as it is currently written, it is expansive.
Yeah, but you cannot discuss the motion to table.
Okay.
So you can make the motion or you could discuss.
I'm going to discuss, and then I can make a motion. Is that correct? Okay, so I've reviewed it, and it's expansive and extensive. It's very broad, it's far-reaching, and I think it's, well, I understand that they want to change the number of the people on the board, I think from 9 to 7 or something, and that's admirable, but as it stands right now, I'm highly concerned about it. So now can I make my motion? I think the townspeople need time to look at this thing and really think about it. So now can I make my motion? Unless there's some other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to table this until the townspeople have time to review it and think it through to a great deal more than the implications of it. We have a town meeting down the road.
Motion made and seconded to table. It's a non-discussion motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Again, on the motion to table, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion to table fails. Any discussion on the original motion, Mr. Gale?
It's not on. Yes, Jonathan Gale, 22 Waterford Circle, Dayton. I just want people to understand, and I say this as the former chair of the commission and now liaison in my position as the ADA coordinator, with regard to this motion overall. The original motion did allow, the original bylaw, did allow for us to have a larger number of members of the commission. The main part of this to reduce the number is because with a commission like a disability commission, unfortunately, I wish I could say it was the other way, it's harder to get people to be on a commission like this. You generally are not on it unless you have a specific interest in disabilities, either because of your career path or because you're a person with a disability or you have a family member with a disability. And especially in those latter two, once you're the person with a disability and you can no longer serve physically or emotionally or something, you're done. Family member, once that person passes away that you're there on behalf of, you're done. So as it is, the commission being as new as it is and the work that we've accomplished, we still have a hard time getting a quorum and getting the members to apply to fill the empty slots. So I just wanted people to understand that when you consider voting for this. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
Hello, Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. I think we've had discussions before when proposing bylaws about addressing the entire thing or highlighting what is actually changed. And I believe there's been both opinions on that matter. I personally would prefer to see both. I'd like to see if you're going to propose a bylaw change, or going to change an existing, especially an extensive bylaw like this, that we have highlighting as to what the differences are. I'd like to have all of the differences explained. Now, I did go through the trouble of finding out what the differences are. And it's more than just changing the number of members. There's also changing it removed a treasurer, while at the same time allowing them to receive gifts of personal and real property. That has been added. In addition to that, they're saying that the Commission on Disability needs to be able to approve any bylaw changes through the Commission on Disability. So there are a bunch of stuff in this that people haven't been able to discuss, as Mr. Rosa said. That's thank you.
Yeah, could you come to the mic, or we can bring you the mic?
Is it on? My question is to the town attorney. Doesn't it take a 2/3 majority of the voters present to amend the bylaw?
Yes, sir, can you please, could you please just identify yourself before town council responds?
Oh, Bob Adams, Elm Street, Dyke.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, would you like me to speak to that question? So the vote that's needed to pass a bylaw or to amend an existing general bylaw of the town is a majority vote. That's correct. A 2/3 vote is required for zoning bylaws, but for general bylaws, it's a majority vote.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Ayes have it, motion passes. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to propose a motion for the town to amend paragraph A of the licenses and permits of delinquent taxpayers bylaw by revising it to provide as follows, with the underlined language to be inserted and words with strike throughs to be deleted as appears in the June 10th, 2024 fiscal 25 annual town meeting warrant.
There's a motion to amend.
To see if the town will vote to amend paragraph A of the licenses and permits of delinquent taxpayers bylaw by revising it to provide as follows, with underlined language to be provided and the words with strike throughs to be deleted as appears. Thank you.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
May I remain for discussion, Mr. Moderator? Thank you very much. My name is Paul Reynolds. I live at 725 Main Street, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as treasurer and tax collector for the town of Dayton. And as I only have 5 minutes, I'm going to speak quickly. So I requested these amendments for several reasons. So the first, regarding electronic furnishing of tax status lists, is to amend the language of the bylaw in a way which allows us to take better advantage of modern technology in order to provide faster and more accurate reporting on tax delinquency status to permitting bodies. The second amendment, which proposes to reduce the outstanding delinquency time to 60 days, is intended to enhance collection efforts as well as bring the historical past practice of the town into better alignment with the letter of the law. The language contained in this bylaw is based on Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 57, and is a local option which may be adopted by municipalities. This option pertains to the denial of local licenses and permits for delinquent taxpayers. The local option language does not specify a required minimum delinquency time. However, when the town adopted the option, it did so with the language that licenses and permits would be denied only on the basis of tax delinquencies which are more than 12 months overdue. Regarding the furnishing of lists, the original bylaw was adopted by the special town meeting on October 14, 1993. Technology limitations that existed at that time meant that paper lists would be individually furnished to all permitted bodies. It is my belief that this method of distribution was likely a consideration in why the language was modified to only include balances 1 to 12 months overdue, as continually refreshing paper lists multiple times a year could easily become a confusing, cumbersome, and resource-heavy process. Thanks to modern technology, there are now more accurate and up-to-date ways to verify tax delinquency status. The town maintains an electronic repository of tax records, which can either be generated into a reviewable list in paper or PDF format, or even more efficiently, permitting bodies are able to make requests in real time for accurate and up-to-date tax status information directly from my office. The town has begun to integrate certain permitting bodies into a software called PermitLink, where they can task my office via electronic notification, where I or a member of my team can directly input notes, sign off on approvals or place holds, or even directly contact the resident's designated email to notify them of a delinquency from the central platform. Departments not currently piloting this are still able to rapidly obtain accurate, up-to-date information by contacting my office directly, either electronically, by phone, or via the paper sign-off forms still used by some departments. This leads to more accurate and up-to-date delinquency reporting, reduces the potential for human error, and better positions the town to continue modernizing its permit issuance processes in the future. I'm seeking this amendment in order to better reflect the benefit of modern technology and streamlining our permitting processes as it pertains to tax status sign-offs. Regarding the second amendment, which seeks to modify the 12-month delinquency limit to 60 days, there are two main reasons for this. The first is to bring the past practice of the town into closer alignment with the authorizing bylaw. The historical practice of the collector's office once involved denying all permits where delinquency existed. Recognizing that the language of the bylaw did not authorize denial of permits for delinquencies less than 12 months outstanding, upon recognition of this fact, I changed this process in order to follow the language of the bylaw. Upon altering the process to follow the bylaw, I immediately noticed unintended consequences. There have been instances where commercial developers attempting to obtain permits from a permitting body for a subdivision or other project have been delinquent on taxes and delayed paying them only until absolutely necessary to proceed with their next payment, lest they should be denied for delinquency extended beyond 12 months. Moreover, Mass General Law requires that partial payments toward delinquent property taxes be credited after interest to the oldest outstanding tax year. This may result in permit seekers paying only their oldest tax debts, and even then, paying only the amount necessary to obtain a specific permit. It is my belief that it is not the role of the town of Dayton to play banker and extend what essentially amounts to a line of credit to commercial developers by allowing them to divert funds due for property taxes into financing their business operations without consequence. At the same time, I do believe there should be a de minimis window to allow for permits to be granted in instances where there is some minor period of time which transpires after a due date. Occurrences such as inclement weather or mail delays could lead to a payment that is simply crossed by a few days in the mail. Moreover, some individuals and businesses reconcile their checkbook at the end of the month, and most permit seekers are residents who promptly make repayment arrangements once notified of a delinquency, whether the balance is overdue enough to jeopardize their permit or not. Furthermore, based on tax payment due date cycles, there are periods of the year where my office receives hundreds of payments at the same time, which all must be processed, receipted, reconciled, and accounted for. This takes time. The 60-day window in this instance is both compassionate to residents as well as professionally pragmatic. An additional benefit is that a 60-day window will never allow a permit seeker to fall more than 1 quarter behind on property taxes. I believe these bylaw amendments collectively represent an opportunity to improve our procedures, reduce our outstanding receivables, and better position the town to continue modernizing its permit processes in the future. I sincerely appreciate the consideration of these changes.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I did want to ask you to repeat it.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend Article 15 of the general bylaws parking regulations as presented in Article 34 of the annual town meeting warrant of June 10, 2024.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 35.
Mr. Moderator, I need to see if the town will vote in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 45, as amended by Chapter 8 of the Acts of 2021, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement with MACS Dayton LLC, a limited liability company with a principal place of business at 100 California Street, Suite 400, San Francisco, California, or its assigns for a period of 20 years, and to approve said agreement under which MACS Dayton LLC, with a principal place of business at 100 California Street, Suite 400, San Francisco, California, or its assigns will pay the town a sum of money per year relative to a parcel of land containing 14.89 acres located at 1420 William Street, Dayton, Mass. 02715, more particularly shown on Assessors Map 11, Lot 9, and a parcel of land containing 9.73 acres located at 1522 William Street, Dayton, more particularly shown on Assessors Map 11, Lot 8.1, related to the construction and operation of a photovoltaic solar facility with an expected nameplate total capacity of approximately 3.75 megawatts, alternating current, said tax agreement on file in the town clerk's office, or take any action relative thereto.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. Why does it say approximately 2.0 megawatts, but I think you stated 3.5? Oh, okay. I'm on 36. 35.
Wrong article. He was on the wrong
I
article.
was on Article 36 when I was following along, so I don't have a question.
Jake 7751, Council Oak. Just a clarifying question for people that maybe you're unaware of the pilot agreements. Can you just tell us the overall levy that we're going to get for the 20 years and kind of how that runs out? Is it adjusted for inflation or anything like that? Where, our property taxes typically go up every year, right? So is it the same cost year 1 to year 20? How does that work?
On this pilot agreement, the total taxes that have been calculated over the 20-year period are in excess of 1.2 million. 1.2 and a little bit more. The taxes are based on the inventory of personal property that has been presented to us. So day one, we know what the equipment is that's there. Our tax consultant looks at the value of that, and also each year adds 2.5%, the increase that goes along with it. Now, we come up with a total for 20 years of 1.2 million. This town front-end loads its pilot agreements. What that means is it's not 20 years at the same amount of money every year. What it means is roughly the first 10 years of a 20-year pilot allows the town to collect 60% of the total taxes. Personal property taxes. I'm not talking real estate now, I'm only talking personal property. Which means after that 10-year payment, the payments decrease more rapidly because you've got roughly 40% left. One of the reasons that we did this way back when is that when a solar farm begins generation, everything should be brand new and should be generating at capacity. As it ages, supposedly the panels lose power to lose capacity to generate because the panels age. The other reason that we front-end load these is that these are investments, these are commodities, these are bought and sold. We want to assure that the town gets, in a front-end loaded agreement, a good amount of taxes, if you will, relatively upfront. So that's why the first 10 years have front-end loaded.
790 Tremont Street. So we have a, bunch of solar farms. We have the big one right there on Tremont Street that's just been constructed. I'm not sure if it's online as of yet. But we've been through these pilot programs, and I'm just wondering what we're doing, not only to collect the taxes, but to make sure that there are work opportunities for the people, in Dayton and surrounding communities. I mean, these companies are coming in from, obviously this one here is from California, the one on Tremont Street, a lot of the workers came from north of Boston. I'm just, looking to see if we can't make some type of an arrangement or some type of an ask to make sure that we are allowing our residents here in the community to work on these facilities and maintain the facilities up to that 20-year period or longer.
In the past, when companies have come in and gone to planning board and any other board they had to go to get permission to construct, to the best of my knowledge, there is no provision that they have to hire local workers. This is not like the power plant that's constructed in Dayton and that would have a certain number of jobs. Again, that's all before this comes before the Board of Assessors to look at this from a tax purpose. I can tell you that they are required to maintain, whoever owns it for the 20 years, or as long as it's in operation, they are required to maintain all stormwater basins and ground cover and things like that. And they usually contract locally to have somebody to do that. But the construction end of it, we don't get involved in.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 36.
Mr. Moderator, move to table this one.
Motion made and seconded to table Article 36. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to table passes unanimously. Article 37. Sir, can you come to the microphone, state your name and address, please?
2185 Pleasant Street in Dayton. I'm making a citizen's petition to see if the town will vote to appeal Section 3, Article 5 of the General Town Bylaw of the Town of Dayton, Massachusetts. This will eliminate the position of the town administrator. The reason why I've done this, Mr. Moderator...
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded.
Mr. Moderator, is because we're hearing about funds and taxes. We pay a lot of money for our administrator's position in the town of Dayton. I've lived in this town for 53 years and 57 years old. We've always had the Board of Selectmen take care of all of the town's administration. I'm not saying this in the best interest. Obviously, we've heard from some of the members of the Board of Selectmen, as well as people in this town, about what's happened with other things with the administrator and the departments. I believe that the reason why I'm doing this is going after the town administrator's position, because I'm not trying to go after the town administrator. I feel, personally, that the town administrator has too much power with all the boards and does not work well with all the boards. As I've read some things from different, we heard about the Board of Health Department. I've read every resignation. Every single one of them had something to do with the town administrator. I don't feel that he's done anything wrong. What I'm stating is I think we need to revisit the way it's written, what his powers are, and then we can go forward with that. That's what I'm looking for.
Is there any other discussion?
I just want to, I believe that gentleman, the motion was to amend Section 3 by 5. What incidentally warrant is Section 3 by 5?
Mr. Logan, if you, I believe you just mislabeled the, what section and what article.
The town will vote to repeal Section 3 of
Alicia Wilson, 2043 Somerset Ave. I would just like to say that the position of the town administrator is vital to this town. It steps in the place of the Board of Selectmen, who are volunteer positions, who can't always be present. Basically goes to the function of all the departments and kind of being the liaison between all the boards that run in this town. Without that, I don't think that we could function cohesively, and I think it's incredibly important, and that without it, I think a lot of the things that we've accomplished in the past few years wouldn't have been able to be accomplished. So I think this position is vital to the town, and I'd like to see it continue. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I ask that this vote be taken by show of hands. Mr. Moderator, we haven't even done the voice vote yet. If we have a problem there, we can go to the hand.
We're still under discussion. Motion made and seconded to table Article 37.
You have the table before you have discussion. Once you've had discussion, then you table.
Right. Motion's table is non-discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion to table fails. Continue back to discussion on the original motion. Mr. Moore.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about this. Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street. First of all, I think we need to differentiate the two parts between the town administrator and the person that's in the town administrator. I do believe that this is motivated by animosity towards the whole police chief situation, and a lot of this got blowback on Mr. Mullen. So first of all, I'd like to say that I, for one, believe that Mr. Mullen has been doing a wonderful job, and I would like to thank him for his years of service. Secondly, on the other part is the idea of the position of the town administrator. This community is growing, and it's growing greatly. And I agree with what Mr. Logan said, actually, that in the past we were able to run with just 3 Board of Selectmen running everything. But the problem is that we're growing so much, the job has become so large that we could not have people like, I believe Mr. Pacheco has a full-time job. I don't think he could do all of the work that the town administrator does if he's employed. It's like a full-time job. I hear from Selectman Karen, he's there, days for a week already, and we have a town administrator. If we were to eliminate the position of town administrator, we end up with a situation that the only people that would ever become selectmen would be retirees that have nothing better to do than to be busybodies in everybody else's business.
Mr. Gale, I got you third in line again.
Dave Aruccio, 790 Tremont Street. I am not in favor of this article. I do believe with the other 2 previous speakers that this is a vital role for our town. I know we went through probably 3 or 4 town meetings trying to get this position accepted by the town. I think it's very, very important. It's vital for some of the monies that we can go after, whether it's from the federal government or from the state, and the way they change the requirements to go after the money, depending on the day and what side of the bed they get up on in the morning. The administrator is on top of that, and we've gotten funds under his direction and under the future administrator's direction. I am very confident. Back in 2022, there was 291 towns that had out of 291 towns, there was 256 that had an administrator position. That's some 86, 87%. So it's not something that, you know, the municipalities take lightly. They see the importance of the position and what it can bring into their particular municipality. We're all fighting for those dollars, meaning the municipalities, you know, fighting, for a better term, fighting against each other for those dollars. And I think that if we eliminate this position, Dayton will definitely be taking a step back. I mean, we're going through some tough times, you know, with our buildings that have all come to 50 years old, and we need those dollars to help ourselves out. You know, in 35 to 40 years to 50 years down the road, the next generation or the people who are sitting here or at the town meeting like we are tonight are going to have the same decisions to make for their buildings or for the buildings that we're handing over to them that are some 50 years old. So I think we need to continue this position. We need to tweak it to make it the best that we can for the town moving forward. Thank you.
Jacob Steffen, 751 Council Oak. I just want to make 2 points. I understand the need to look at hard costs where our town is as a financial position. The reality of the situation is Mr. Mullen and the administration have done an amazing job of not only offsetting the salary that's in our hardline budget, but also increasing efficiencies in the town that has gone well above and beyond the cost that they're paid in salary. So I think that's the first thing that we need to understand. The second thing that we need to understand is that we are in an unfortunate position where we are going to lose Mr. Mullen right now, which means that we are going to be actively searching for another town administrator. And to have an article like this really sends the wrong message to potential applicants. And I think we need to vote this down vehemently and incredibly strongly so that we send a message to potential applicants that we welcome help and that the town administration position is super important. Thank you.
Back when we advocated for this position, part of the reason was we had previous selectmen that spent every day in the town hall micromanaging the operations, and that's not what the position should be of the selectmen, because as Mr. Moore indicated, then you're only going to be left with people that are retired that don't, have anything else to do, and it's discouraging that, people that are young and maybe want to be involved don't get involved because they think it's a full-time job. So, I think also moving forward, setting up maybe lessons learned for future town administrators is maybe selectmen need to stay out of town hall and only go to the Wednesday meetings and let the town administrator run the town and not, get in the meetings. I look at it from, I don't see myself sitting here in the superintendent's office every day trying to tell them how to run the school district. So I would recommend people vote this down.
Mr. Gale?
Jonathan Gale, 22 Waterford Circle. So I just want to say that as the ADA coordinator over the past several years, with the support of our town administrator, we've brought in over $600,000 in grants. So what we've done for people with disabilities. But that money wasn't just for people with disabilities. That increases our ability for sidewalks in town, not just the one that some people love at Town Hall and some people hate, because it's so long. It gives restrooms, makes restrooms available to people with disability, seniors, children, women with baby carriages, etc., etc. Our town website is probably one of the best in the state now, thanks to the grants that we've gotten with the assistance of the administrator. That's just neat. But if we think of the literally millions of dollars in grants that a town administrator brings to the town, our town administrator knows how to work the phone. He knows how to work, or she knows how to work the phones to the State House. They know how to contact our state reps and state senators. They know how to work with the federal government. And a lot of those grant applications are dozens of pages long. I've done them myself. I've done them with our current town administrator. Our boards don't have the ability to do that. Our town administrator works 7 days a week, 24/7, whether we like it or not. That's their job. That's what we pay them for. So they have to be here all the time. I know our current town administrator comes in at 6 in the morning, sometimes, like tonight, he's still here until what time? You know, they have families too. The other thing that I think people need to think about, and I'll leave it with this, if we don't have a town administrator, we're going back to the old days of the All Boys Network. There is no way this town can function like that. It can't be, I love you so you can be on my committee even though you don't know anything. We have to have a town administrator who can lead by example. We have to have a town administrator who's willing to approach committees and commissions and say, I think you're making a mistake. I think you're doing this wrong. Let me make a suggestion to you. We need a town administrator. We spent so much time tonight approving different components of the budget. A town administrator's job is to lead that budget through the accounting team into the Board of Selectmen and to the Finance Committee. If we don't have that, to put it bluntly, we're screwed. Thank you.
Good evening, Ron O'Connor, 594 School Street. I can echo much of what has been said this evening, including Mr. Ruggio, who stated that 86% of Massachusetts towns have a professional town administrator, town manager, what have you. I've been in Dayton for close to 30 years. I remember the dark ages, I'll call them the dark ages. Mr. Gale refers to them as the old days. But when the town was run by the Board of Selectmen, and in all due respect to the Board of Selectmen in those days, they struggled. I chaired 2 committees that moved the Board of Health from the Board of Selectmen because they were in over their head in that way. And what we've done, we did a lot of work to bring the town administrator position to this town. And I'd hate to see us go 2 steps forward with the 2 administrators that we've had. We go 3 steps back because people believe that the town administrator position is no longer needed. I fully support looking at, I wouldn't say tweaking, but taking a close look at the town administrator position, and most importantly, looking at ways in which we can codify that position so we don't find ourselves in the position we are in tonight, where we need to take a citizen's petition for consideration. So there are means by which we can do that, by a bylaw change or a special act. That's a discussion for the future, not for this evening. But I can't speak more strongly against this motion to eliminate the position of town administrator Dayton. I can speak volumes about town administrator Mullen, but I won't speak to the person. The position is the most important thing this town has had in years. Thank you.
So there was Mr. Hull had already selected a hand vote.
I think it was selected. I'm asking for the motion that we made.
Thank you. I just wanted the opportunity to speak as well. Many towns in our socioeconomic status have assistant town administrators who help manage towns of our size and budget. So, it'd be a huge step in the wrong direction if we move the other way. And, one thing I didn't hear was how the town administrator also brings all the departments together. They're really the threaded needle that really sews and binds all of our departments together. I got to experience and hear from our employees at the town hall how really, I said it before today, how, government, we have all our different, departments, and sometimes they're so removed from each other, but the town administrator is that one position who brings everyone together, and that is so needed now in town hall. And I would just ask one more question. When we do a hand count or how we're doing this, can we just make sure we all are on the same page on what a yes vote is and what a no vote is?
Is there any other discussion?
So, I think the spirit of the citizens' petition was to foster a discussion which we have going on right now, and I would like to see if there is, can we make an amendment that we are going to redefine the position of the town administrator so that it's not a poll, it's it's not one polar end, and it's not one polar end on the other side of having none at all.
All right, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, if the checkers, could you please close the doors and come forward? If you are in favor of repealing Section 3 of Article 4 of the General Town Bylaws of the Town of Dayton, Massachusetts, essentially eliminating the position of Town Administrator, please raise your hand for a yes vote. Please keep them raised until the checkers have completed their count. For those who wish to not vote to repeal Section 3 of Article 4 of the General Town Bylaws of the Town of Dayton, Massachusetts, eliminating the position of Town Administrator, please raise your hands. Please keep your hands raised until the checkers have completed counting. Article 37 fails, 106 no votes, 2 yes votes. Article 38, is there any other business?
Yes, it might be a housekeeping measure. However, I would like to make a motion to appropriate transfer from free cash the sum of $250 to the Historical Commission. We voted earlier this evening to raise their budget, but we did not vote on where that money would come from. Requesting that it be done through free cash rather than raise and appropriate. You voted to fund it, but you didn't say what
The amendment was to raise and appropriate. amendment of the overall budget, or the section of the budget, which precursor was by raise and appropriate. Mr. Gale?
I'd like to make a motion that we formally, as a town, and as the town meeting, recognize the commitment that our town administrator, since this is his last time meeting, has made to this town, and how much we, I believe, as a town, appreciate the service and the time he's dedicated to the town.
Is there any other business to discuss? At this time, I would like to appoint this year's Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is going to be Peter Roach, Susan Lorenz, Ron McKay, Douglas White, Jacob Stebbins, Thomas Arujo, and Tracy Karasik. Motion made and seconded